Happy Friday. It's August 15th here on the Just Baseball Show. That's Arm Layden. I am Peter Apple. And today is a fun one, I think. I came with 7 players that I feel like just we need to talk about a little bit more. They have been electric post All-Star break. They have been electric June 1st. And throughout all of our episodes, we've kind of just let them fall to the wayside. So this is their episode. But we're also going to talk about the Angels sweeping the Dodgers and what that means for the National League West. And I also made a bet on the Detroit Tigers. And I know Arm is pro Tigers. I'm a little bit anti Tigers. So we're going to debate that. And it's all brought to us by the sportsbook born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. So right now, everyone is listening to this again on Friday, August 15th. Arm, this is my last day in New York City. I'm moving over
Oh,
the
wow.
weekend. I'm headed to Chicago. First stop, trying some Malort.
Oh,
Just
gosh.
kidding. Obviously not. I am not a psychopath.
I was gonna say, please send a video. Please give us the full review. Uh, you're gonna get offered it at every street corner, actually. Every bar you go into, they're gonna beg for you to torture yourself.
I know.
That's the Chicago tradition.
I am excited to get some hot dogs, get some of their classic deep dish pizza. I'll be moving into the River North neighborhood. I'm very, very excited, and it feels weird. This is going to be my last time recording in my office here in New York. Just feels weird. I've had a lot of different backgrounds throughout just baseball at this point. And I know you have as well, and we got another one coming.
Yeah, well, and hopefully you can go spark the Cubs up a little bit. Maybe go see Owen Casey's first weekend, first few games at the big league level. I'm excited they called him up, but I'm also very curious to see where he fits in consistently. But you're going to get some good baseball out there. Also, the White Sox are swinging it. I was pulling some numbers just to prepare for our conversation about the Tigers to see oh, who's been swinging it team wise over the last month. I think the White Sox, if I remember correctly, from looking at, I was not looking for them, so I think I remember seeing them in the top five in WRC plus, like in the second half. So you got some good baseball out there, better than the New York teams right now.
Way better than the New York teams.
Yeah, the Cubs, though, honestly, if you ask Cubs fans, they'd probably say no.
Yeah, they'd probably say no too. But yes, unfortunately, the White Sox hype train has left the station. I said over 53 and a half wins, and Arm Layton was against it at the beginning of the season. I think we're only 9 wins away. Now, it's going to
Yeah.
take them a little while to get 9 wins. 9 wins isn't just, oh, in the next 2 weeks, we'll get there. No, we might be into September getting those 9 wins, but I can feel them, Arm. I can
Yep.
feel them.
Yeah, 54 is right there.
It's right there for the taking. The Dodgers stink. They don't actually stink. But the Angels have now won all 6 games against the Dodgers. There is something about the Los Angeles, Orange County, Anaheim Angels of California of Angels going up against these Los Angeles Dodgers. Even Shohei Ohtani has looked incredible on the mound. He struck out Mike Trout. Didn't matter. Did not matter because the Angels won all 3 games. The Padres now lead the division by one. 2.5 weeks ago, what did I say? I said, let's buy into the San Diego Padres to win the division. Now, it is certainly not over yet. We know this. To doubting the Dodgers, I've already done that in the World Series. Aram, how did that go for me?
You tell me. I keep remembering a fifth inning.
Yeah, I remember a fifth inning. I remember Nestor Cortez Jr. giving up a home run to Freddie Freeman when I said that the ankle was going to preclude him from being his normal self. Instead, he wins World Series MVP. But I think you guys were talking about it on the last episode where it feels like the Dodgers are almost going through the motions in the regular season. And it did feel like watching this series that that's exactly what we got. That the Dodgers came into the series playing like they didn't care, or at least that's what I'm watching on the TV. Now, of course, they care, right? Of course, they want to win, but it did feel like a lifeless Dodger team, and it's really been a lifeless Dodger team now over a month, which has let the Padres take hold of this division.
I didn't feel the urgency until the finale, where 'cause I think it was like, oh, we cannot get swept by them
Yeah.
again. That's where I saw the urgency. Where I'm trying to remember what the play was exactly, but there was one. I think big knock or may have been getting out of a jam. I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was a pretty significant reaction from the Dodgers dugout. Like they were just fired up about it. And I was like, oh, there it is. Like they realized like it's slipping away a little bit. And by it slipping away, it's that you don't want to be looking up at the Padres in the division as the amount of games left dwindle. And I think for the Padres, it's kind of the opposite where they see, wait, we have a window here and they are running with it. They've won 5 in a row. I think the Dodgers are going to snap into it a little bit more here, but I felt the urgency in the last game of the series, and they just got beat. They just got outplayed, and the Angels, took that one. The Angels are also playing decent ball right now, and they're every time you think they're maybe going to make that push to the other side of 500, they slip back down again. But it is fun to see how tough they play them. I was thinking about it. I'm like, if that happened right before the deadline, they swept the Dodgers. Artie Moreno may have forced Perry Minasian to trade every single minor leaguer they have to go all in on this season. But fortunately, it didn't happen then. But they're only 5 games out of the wild card, so who knows? I mean, that sweep where I think a lot of people were expecting them to get beat up now has put them back in the conversation where we're talking about how the Rangers could easily do it. Well, the Angels are only a game and a half behind them, so let's hope they make it tight and make it interesting.
Couple of players on the Angels have been really impressive, right? We've talked about Joe Adell at length, but I want to focus on Zach Neto because I've seen a lot of these tweets come up about how, the Anthony Volpe haters say if Zach Neto is wearing pinstripes, Yankee fans would be glazing him to no ends. But since he's on the Angels, he doesn't get the same media attention. Unfortunately, the haters are cooking there. They're simply cooking. Zach Neto at 24 years old, 19 home runs, 21 stolen bases, a 119 WRC plus. He's not the greatest defender in the world, but he's not a bad defender either.
Gotten better.
Gotten better, and I think he's just going to continue to get better, right?
I would imagine so. Like this is a guy that got fast tracked through the minor leagues. Defense was always something that they said he was going to need to work on a little bit. Has really hard, and we've seen. I think this is the best version of himself defensively. I feel like it's only going to get better.
And Taylor Ward as well is another player that I'm looking at. When he hit that home run in the finale, it flashed on the screen 29 home runs for Taylor Ward, and I was like,
Yeah,
wait.
I said the same reaction.
Wait a minute. Taylor Ward is a sneaky 30 home run guy. He's probably going to end the season with over 35 home runs. I'm not going to make a joke about how the Angels should have traded him. Maybe Perry Minasian was cooking and keeping him because he is just factually one of the better power hitters in the American League this year.
Yeah, it's been wild. It's been very under the radar, I think. And I think a lot of Angels performers, it's going to be a little bit under the radar. But what I like now is you just look at this lineup. I've been adamant that Neto is one of the more underrated players in the game for a while now, and I think he's definitely starting to get his shine. But with Joe Adell having this relative breakout for his standards, and then you knew Shanwell was going to be solid. Just having Trout in the lineup, even if it's not prime Trout, it's still an 820 OPS, man. Like, and he's still gonna walk all the time because everyone's terrified of him. So you're not gonna get the 1, 2, 3 innings as much as you were getting before. It's just a better version of the Angels, and the pitching staff at the top has been okay. Kikuchi and Soriano are good, so it's been enjoyable to watch them relative to other years. I think there's no doubt in that, and they've been doing it without Soler. So see if Soler comes back and what he can bring for them as well. But they're decent, and I think Angels fans deserve that at least.
Yeah, they do.
But if they're not going to have a direction, I just hope for the sake of Angels fans, because they should have sold, that they are validated and at least play some meaningful games down the stretch. And I think this series was a big step for that. On the other side of things, I think if you're the Padres, it's still only one game, but you've got to feel like this is your time. Like You're hot right now. Try to widen that gap as much as you can, because the Dodgers are very likely to snap back in gear at some point before the regular season is over.
100%. They will snap back into form at some point, but right now the current Dodgers, I think are going to be better come the playoff time. I think everybody listening agrees. I think even if you're the biggest Dodger hater in the world, you would agree. But at this current moment, they have 3 holes in the lineup, most notably Mookie Betts, right? We saw him drive in the first run of yesterday's game, but overall, this has just been a lost season for Mookie Betts. Maybe
Been
not
good
lost.
like the last 8 games. He's
Yeah,
that.
in August he's
Or,
gotten a little better, but it's
yeah,
still not quite the Mookie Betts that we are
no,
used to.
no, not
And
even
if you look
close.
at the totality of the season, if I told you on August 14th, the day we're recording, that Mookie Betts had a 91 WRC plus, you would laugh. You would think,
Yeah,
what? Did someone chop off both his legs? Because I think just a torso of Mookie Betts could put up a 91 WRC plus. So you'd be shocked by that. And another guy that I expected to have a good season, I thought, wow, the Dodgers are cooking. This could be their next Teoscar Hernandez. Get a guy from a bad hitting environment with a great track record of hitting and bring him in and give him the left field job. And that is Michael Conforto. Well, Mookie Betts
yeah,
has not been good. Conforto's been even worse with an 80 WRC plus 627 OPS. I mean, he just can't hit at all. And now at the second base position right now, it's Alex Freeland, which is he's a rookie. Like it's not his
you
fault.
gotta
But
give him
again,
time.
but again,
Yeah,
in the middle of August, this is why I expect the Dodgers to perform better. But right now, he's got a 63 WRC plus. You got three guys in the lineup that you can't really count on. So let's say Will Smith takes a day off from catching. That's when the lineup could get really, really barren. And we're going to heap praise on Max Muncy later when we talk about dogs that just need more attention. But right now, this Dodgers offense just doesn't scare me. And the bullpen doesn't feel as heavy as it normally does, where it feels like even in the fifth inning, you're getting a guy who can strike out the side on 10, 11 pitches. It's not quite that team. Now, they will get it into form, but right now, the Dodgers are vulnerable, and the Padres, like you said, have to jump on this.
yeah. Well, and Tommy Edmonds hurt right now, but I
Yep.
was pretty shocked to see Tommy Edmonds numbers like since because he was insane to start the year too. So you start to think about that and say, okay, well, if he was that good at the start of the year, how bad has he been since then? And if you look at really since he came back from, I think it was like a minor injury on May 18th, it's 56 games, and then now he's hurt again. 214, 273, 323 slash line. That's a 596 OPS. And I know Tommy Edman impacts the game in a lot of other ways, but in those 56 games, he's only stolen one bag as well. Like I don't know if there's been a few ailments or whatever's been bothering him, but that's like a really important glue guy for you who just hasn't really been that. And good thing, you had Ha-Seong Kim step in and do what he was doing, but that was a guy that was thriving in, I think, a more limited role. He's hurt as well now, but him getting catapulted into, I think, a little bit more of a significant role. I think you started to see him come down to earth a little bit. And all of a sudden, you're trying to figure out which role players to trust. You do have Miguel Rojas to go back to, which I do think they're going to give Freeland this runway for a few more weeks and see if he can start to get going. And if not, you have the fallback of Rojas just being a really solid, close to league average bat and defend pretty well. I think you can say the same thing with Alex Call. But those guys are supplementary pieces, and then there's going to be a lot on the back of Otani, Freeman, Will Smith being a revelation this year, which revelation is probably not fair because he's been really good, but now he's like
He's like, if he played more
insane.
games, he could win the MVP. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's been amazing. But it all goes back to, unfortunately, I don't like to circle one player, but Mookie Betts has to be Mookie Betts because all of your complementary pieces just aren't as good as you thought. So you need your stars to your murderer's row at the top to really carry things. And then you need that rotation to be healthy. And it's nice seeing Glass and Snell back in there, but they got to really be in there and they got to stick in there. So it's interesting. There's a lot of variables. There's still, I think, a lot of outcomes where they win the World Series again, but I think there's a lot of ways where this thing can go wrong. And we said at the beginning of the year that the pitching could be a bit of an issue, but it seems like the lineup depth and length at times right now has been some of the issue too.
And one more complimentary piece that post second half, I've been a little bit disappointed with just because he was so good in the front half. Andy Pajes,
Yeah.
right? He was an all-star snub. And I mean that snub literally. He should have made the all-star team with how good he was defensively in center field as well as with the bat. Now in the second half, right, even in last night's game, he had a home run robbed from him. So it's not like I am super nervous about him, but that is another player who needs to turn it up that was instrumental to the Dodgers' success in the front half of the season, right? Andy Pajes 122 WRC plus in the first half, 89 in the second half, right? It's not like he's been a hole, but he's been a below league average hitter. And when you
Yeah.
have Mookie and when you have Conforto and when you have Freeland in the lineup and, a couple other guys like Teoscar Hernandez has been a slightly above league average hitter. You need a guy like Andy Pages to drive in those runs, and he hasn't. So all of these different, I think, smaller factors have all coincided into a disappointing Dodgers team right now, which is a crazy sentence to say
Yeah.
when they had 103.5 win total at the beginning of the season, and half our comments on TikTok and on Instagram said that they aren't going to watch baseball this year because the Dodgers already won.
Yeah. Well, now the Padres have the third best WRC plus in baseball since the start of the second half. And they added a freakazoid in their bullpen. So eh, they're in a really good spot, man. Like you're seeing that offense come together. You're seeing them, get galvanized. What's crazy though is I would have expected the Dodgers numbers to be worse since the break. Like it's a 112 WRC plus still though, but it feels like they have the pops in the really good games and then they have some really flat games. So like cumulatively it looks okay, but it has been, I feel like, a little bit more the ebbs and flows. San Diego's been really, really consistent, I feel like, and looks really good. So it's a tough spot right now. If they can't get it going, I don't see San Diego slowing down anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Speaking about win totals, I took a position against the Detroit Tigers. I took them under 92.5 wins on BetMGM. Now, I don't want Tigers fans to think now I'm suddenly a massive hater and the Guardians are going to win the division and the Tigers are going to absolutely crater. That is not what I am betting on. I am betting on for the rest of the season that this team is going to play closer to 500 baseball than what they have done so far. And it really stems from the fact of being disappointed from their deadline. I needed them to add a Merrill Kelly. I didn't need them to add a Joe Ryan. I didn't need them to add a crazy elite pitcher, but I wanted a little bit more than Charlie Morton. I wanted a little bit more than Chris Paddock. Now, Tigers fans could point to some numbers and say, well, have you seen Morton over his last 10 starts? Have you seen Paddock with us so far? It hasn't been all that bad. I agree. Those guys are five starters who can look like threes for an extended period of time. But at the end of the day, I believe they are closer to five starters. Jack Flaherty, the strikeout numbers look great, but he's just not a strong number two. At least that's how I feel. I feel like he is a strong number three.
Yeah.
Scooble is obviously amazing. But then you have Casey Mize, who, struggles to get past the sixth inning, who's still working his way back from injury, just hasn't looked quite as sharp as he did at the beginning of the season. So for the rest of the regular season, I have issues with this starting rotation. And then you go to the bullpen. The Tigers' bullpen is not the chaos of old. This Tigers bullpen had problems, right? If you look at their overall numbers this year, they rank 18th in ERA. So what do they do to address the bullpen? Kyle Finnegan? Here's my thing about Kyle Finnegan. Kyle Finnegan can lock down the ninth, but when Kyle Finnegan is running in from the bullpen, I don't think anyone on the opposing dugout thinks the game is over. That's how I view
No,
Kyle Finnegan. I think
yeah.
he's a fine closer. I think he can do a job. But in the ninth inning, if the game is close, he's not someone who I feel very good about. And then you work down the rest of the bullpen. They're fine arms. They're not performing like they did last year. So I think the pitching is vulnerable. Now, how do I lose this bet? Well, I lose this bet by the starting pitching being decent, the bullpen being decent, and the offense really heating up. Because I have actually no problems with the offense at all. That's why I think the Tigers win this division and finish anywhere between 89 to 91 games. So that's again why I took a position on this. I have no problems with the offense. The starting pitching is what I view to be mediocre, and I view a bullpen that's probably along the same light. And for the rest of the season, while they are fifth in terms of strength of schedule, a lot of easy teams, it's a lot of in-division games. Over 56% of their games moving forward are on the road, where they have a 31-28 record. They've been great at Comerica Park this year. So for all of those reasons, I took a position against the Tigers in the regular season, but I actually don't mind them as a playoff team, especially when you have a guy like Tarek Skubal at the front of your rotation, and you can kind of shorten that rotation a little bit.
And I'm interested to see how they weaponize Melton. Like Melton was really good as a starter last time out. It was incredibly sharp for him. But do they continue to roll him out in the rotation? Is he a long man? Is he a guy that maybe in shorter spurts could tick up even more? I really like Troy Melton. I think that's somebody that could help them one way or another, and I'm interested to see how they utilize him. Same with Sawyer Gibson-Long, who just came off the IL. But those are guys that I like as candidates to kind of help you get through 162. But when you start to think about trying to win a playoff series and stuff like that, how they fit in is really interesting. So what would the record be for like what would they be playing the rest of the season for you to win that wager? If they're 70 and 52 now, what are you betting that the record would be the rest of the year?
So I'm betting that the record will be under 23 and 17, right? Because you get
That's fair.
70 to 93 wins. I think again they're going to play closer to 500
When that
baseball.
wins them the division still. Like
Exactly.
unless the Guardians legitimately are going Brewers mode, like that wins them the division pretty easily, I think.
And there are a couple of smaller things with the Tigers that I don't love. I don't think they're that great at manufacturing runs, right? They're eighth in home runs. So they've been a little bit reliant on the long ball, but they don't run the bases all that well. They actually rank dead last in stolen bases. Now, it's kind of AJ Hinch's thing. Not a lot of teams that he's managed have been that high in stolen bases, but to be dead last is something that I'm interested in, right? They're
Yeah.
not able to manufacture runs that way. So again, they're a little bit reliant on the long ball. So if the offense goes cold for a little bit and the starting rotation isn't doing his job, it could get real bad real fast. We even saw in this White Sox series, right? They won a couple of close games. Then Flaherty broke down in the sixth inning of game two and they lost that one, right? And then the bullpen gave up a bunch of runs. That's how I kind of view their situation moving forward. And it's not like the Tigers have been playing good baseball. It's funny. When I made that bet, I put up a poll: is Peter a genius or is Peter an idiot? 60% voted Peter is a genius. And I actually got multiple DMs from Tigers fans being like, we are not playing well. I have no faith in this team. Now, those are fans, of course, when they go through bad stretches. I've been there too. You've heard me on
I'm
this
seeing
show.
I'm seeing so many fan bases do this right now. I'm seeing Cubs fans say we suck. I'm seeing Yankees fans say we suck. I'm
Well, we
seeing Mets
do
like
suck.
who's good?
We do
Who,
suck.
the Dodgers fans think they suck.
They
Who is
suck.
good?
The Padres and the Brewers are the only people who are happy.
Like
Like I
it's
think
just
Mariners fans are pretty happy,
yeah, they're happy.
reasonably speaking. I think Astros fans are pretty happy. Blue Jays
Yeah,
fans, I feel
are
like are happier than anybody.
yeah, they're over the moon.
Yeah, they're over the moon. So there are a few happy fan bases, and Red Sox fans are just delusional. Just kidding. You know I'm gonna hate on you just for fun.
They're happy too, right?
They
I
should
mean,
be.
so
They
I guess
should be.
there's a few out there, but no, but they're not. Well, at least it's just our staff. All I see is complaints about certain positions and Abraham Toro and whatever it may be. But the one thing I will say is Kerry Carpenter's circled for me
Yeah.
because he's also battled some ailments this year. It's been a little up and down, but his last 25 games, he's got 9 homers. He's got an OPS at 1100. He was the guy that helped catapult that offense last year and helped them make that run. And he didn't have Spencer Torkelson swinging it well. I don't even think he had Riley Green swinging it this well. He didn't have Gleyber Torres in that lineup. So they also, I think, big reason why they won was that bullpen chaos. But this offense can do more, as you alluded to. Like that is how you could end up losing this. Is that offense really kicks into gear? I don't think they'll do it. I wish they would because I've been talking about it for a couple months now. If they called up Kevin McGonigal, and I know that's a lot to ask of a kid, but I would feel really good about what he could bring because you talk about manufacturing runs. That guy sprays the ball all over the yard. He's going to give you great ABs. He can give you a little bit of speed on the base paths. But Kevin McGonigal, man, since he's been promoted to, let's just even go from the All Star break. So he's played 20 Double A games since the All Star break. He's hitting. This is our number one prospect in baseball, by the way. He's hitting 321, 415, 654. That's an 1,069 OPS. 5 homers in that span, 7 doubles, 2 triples, and he has 14 walks against 11 strikeouts. Also 4 bags in that span. I, I don't. I think it's super aggressive, and I usually don't like calling on prospects to jolt you. I know the Cubs are doing that right now with Casey, but that's different. Casey's legitimately too good for AAA. He's not even striking out now in AAA. McGonigal could give this lineup a dynamic that they're missing, and I would love to see Scott Harris consider it. I really would. And if that happens, you should get worried. McGonigal is going to take him to the promised land.
Oh, I love McGonigal. Where would you put him on this team right now? Would you just put him at short?
I think I would just stick him at short.
Yeah.
I'd stick him at short and say, let's roll. And then, against lefties, Javi gets the start. So you don't even really need to play McGonigal against lefties, even though, by the way, McGonigal against left-handed pitching, 344, 453,
No,
672 this season.
Arm, you can't do that. You can't give AJ Hinch this. What did he do with Kerry Carpenter? Don't even
Oh,
mention that he can't
God.
hit lefties. Don't even
Yeah.
bring it up. He'll
Yeah.
never face a lefty for his
Yeah.
career.
He'll never see one. No, he's crushing lefties this year. So again, I think it's a little far-fetched, but at least like in September, it would be a fun idea. Like Trey Sweeney's he's played 3 times in the last 6 games. So like, if you're gonna roll Trey Sweeney out there and hit him ninth, I I genuinely think Kevin McGonigal would be better tomorrow. And I really try to avoid that with prospect stuff. I think people really underestimate the leap. And this is from Double A. But the arms that he has faced too over the last couple weeks, and I've been following that Erie team, some of the best arms in Double A, like the arms that you won't even see in Triple A, like stuff wise. Um, I think he could do it, but that's another conversation. I do. The biggest concern for me is that bullpen though, because you're gonna have days where okay, Scooble goes 7, and you go to your big guns in the bullpen. But what about the day where Will Vest is not available and Charlie Morton gives you 5 decent innings? How are you getting to the finish line there?
Yeah.
And maybe they can. Maybe they find a method that works. But right now, it seems like it's tough to get to that finish line.
Two things. I want to ask another question about McGonigal, but you did mention Troy Melton. Incredible performance against the White Sox. And you said it yourself. You say incredible performance against the White Sox. Well, it was the White Sox. The White Sox are swinging it really well. He was so efficient. I was so impressed. After his first start, I was talking about it in the Discord with our guy, Scooble has to stay a Tiger. He's awesome. He's a great Tigers fan in our Discord. And I was saying, I'm not the biggest Melton guy. And it worked out for me in my first start. I faded him and it worked. Ever since then, the guy's been a dog. Throwing so
17
many
innings,
strikes.
17 and a third, 1 earned run, by the way.
So many strikes, working with so many different pitches, locating all of them. And, there was a couple situations in that White Sox start where, a rookie might lose the first guy and young pitchers in that situation might start to lose command of the strike zone and let it unravel. We've seen it with pitchers all the time. Not Melton. Gets right back in the zone, 3 quick outs, and you forget that runner was ever even on. Like, that is the sign of a guy who knows how to pitch. And when you have good stuff as well, he is definitely someone to watch in the second half for the Tigers. My worry is a lot of the other guys outside of Tarek Skubal that I think could give them problems. And we'll see if Melton can keep it up. But again, Melton is not the reason I'm fading the Tigers. One quick thing on McGonigal. I am curious if you think that he could have a similar impact to the Tigers right now that Roman Anthony did for the Red Sox. They're both really young. I know you ranked Roman as your number one prospect. Now McGonigal is your number one prospect. Do you think that McGonigal's bat is so sound that he could make maybe not quite the impact that Roman could, but close?
It's funny
Because
because
if he
like
can, you got to call him up.
yeah, I don't. I think he has the ability to. I think Roman was more ready to, if that makes sense.
It
But
does.
because like McGonigal has just got to Double A, but he's better than he was in High A, and I do think this is a guy that is not really going to be phased by the levels at this point. He's just got to get up to the big leagues and get acclimated. So I think he could make it somewhat of a similar impact. Because remember, it's not like Roman Anthony's hitting crazy amount of home runs. He's hitting the ball really hard. He's walking and he's posting some doubles and mixing that in there. But he's not hitting a ton of homers. It's 2 homers in his last 20 games. So I do think he's capable of doing that. It would look a little different, but it would be high OBP, spray the ball around the yard, and enough juice. Again, people are like sleeping on the McGonigal impact. Like he's posting plus exit velocities now. It's a 48% hard hit rate, 90th percentile of 106. Like it's legit pop. So I think he has the capability of doing it. So that's why I would consider it down the stretch. Once you know that he can't exceed rookie limits, because he'd probably be my rookie of the year favorite for next year.
Can you do me a favor real quick? 90th percentile of 106. Relate that to big leaguers right now so people can get a better idea of how much he is impacting the baseball, because I think what I see on social media a little bit is, yeah, McGonagall's a good hitter, but he's never going to hit for that much pop. But then the numbers that you bring to the table, it's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?
It's pretty impressive considering I think MLB average is if you take the top 10% of every hitter's exit velocities, the average is about 103.5 miles per hour.
Mm.
So McGonagall at 106 when he's a hit over power guy still, right? Like that this is a pure hitter who's also hitting the ball that hard. That's plus. And then his ground ball rate's 35%. So he's finding the gaps like crazy. He's got 28 doubles in 65 games, 2 triples and 12 homers. Like the guy's slugging 610. And yeah, maybe in Comerica may not leave the yard as much,
But
but
who
those
is?
gaps are going to be huge for him. And he goes foul pole to foul pole. And I still think he's going to leave the yard plenty. Like, but that's why I'm so excited about him.
Is this a guy you like to lead the league in doubles a few times throughout his career?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
he's
that.
definitely a lead the league in doubles candidate.
I like that. So we have 7 dogs we got to talk about. That's even the title of the Google Doc I shared with Aram. 7 dogs that just need a little bit more shine. But before we get that, a reminder, the best way to support the Just Baseball show is to rate and review 5 stars, whether it be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your shows. We're about to take a quick break. In the meantime, if you could just hit that 5 star button, and if you have a few more seconds, leave a written review. Seriously, guys, it is the best way to support this show, as well as on YouTube, liking and subscribing, and comment. I took under 92.5 for the Detroit Tigers. I'd like to see some genius comments, and I'd also like to see some idiot comments. Don't be nice to me. Be honest down there in the comment section below. Do you like this play? Do you not like this play? Tell me how it loses. Tell me how it wins. Again, in the comments section below. And right now, we're about to take our first break. 7 freaking dogs, and we are going to start with the best ERA since the All-Star break. Who is that? Who is that? Cade freaking Horton of the Chicago Cubs. Since the All-Star break, 0.32 ERA in 21 and a third, 0.71 whip, a 120 batting average against. The Cubs, you've said it already on the show. They're not playing great baseball, they're playing good baseball. PCA has fallen deep into a hole. Kyle Tucker's been good, not great. Ian Happ, not so great. There have been some problems on the Cubs. Horton has been, when you use the word revelation, and you were high on him as a prospect. You've always stuck with him. You always liked the arm. Got off to a bit of a rougher start, but has really settled in. What have you seen?
I mean, that cut ride fastball is really playing again like it was in the minor leagues when he was healthy. And he's dealt with some arm challenges over the last couple of years, and I think just getting healthy has been huge for him. The velo's right back up to averaging 96 miles per hour. But you're seeing that confidence. And I think with the cut ride fastball, we talk about it like sometimes that those pitches can flatten out and get hit pretty hard. And then other times it's like the Justin Steele effect where just guys cannot get to it. That's execution dependent. I think that's also velocity dependent and very much just how you set it up. And I think he's executing it as well as ever. You're seeing him locate it really well. You look at since the All-Star break, it's a 71% strike rate on that cut ride fastball. And then his best pitch is a slider that is disgusting. And now working off of that, it really helps set that slider up. And that pitch has been dominant working off of it, where opponents are 2 for their last 29 against his slider. And then the other thing, and the big reason why I really liked Cade Horton as a prospect was his ability to tinker and find new pitches. And he experimented with a changeup grip at one point, and all of a sudden was flashing a plus changeup. And then after dealing with some injury and whatever it may have been, he kind of lost that feel for it. And it hasn't fully been back yet, but it's back enough to where you got to respect it. And when it's around the zone, it's good. And he's been mixing in that changeup way more of late, and that pitch has been really effective for him. So being able to mix those in, and then the curveball is kind of a taste breaker, has been huge. But I think fastball execution and then that changeup coming back a little bit for him has really taken the pressure off of the slider to need to be like that one dominant pitch for him.
So I agree that slider is fantastic. The cut ride fastball has been really good for him. Is it crazy though that when I've been watching him during the stretch, I feel like his changeup is his best pitch.
No, because when
Opponents
it's around the zone, it's gross.
opponents are hitting 103 against it. He's throwing it in on lefties. He dots it, throws it wherever he wants. It's such a good taste breaking pitch from those other two that you mentioned. And then he's got three more. 52% whiff rate on that thing. So you're talking about a guy who has performed well when the changeup hasn't been there. And then you throw in the changeup, and the command around the zone has been impeccable. This is a guy who I also feel at just 23 years old has so much more left to unlock,
Hmm.
right? I don't think that Cade Horton is going to be a guy with a strikeout rate less than 20%. Even during this run where he's at a 0.32 ERA, he's got 24 strikeouts in 28 innings. I feel like there's a lot more left to unlock. Do you agree with that? That the
Yeah.
strikeout rate should continue to climb? Now, he's not going to put up a 0.32 ERA for the
Yeah.
rest of his career. He's obviously going to subside, but other things are going to get better and better.
Well, I think the reason why you're seeing him succeed too is that fastball execution has been so good that hitters, it's deceiving their eyes a little bit. They try to get to it, and it's a lot of early weak contact, and that's allowing him to go deeper into ball games and be a little bit more efficient. But yeah, like I think that changeup consistency can be what kind of kicks him into another gear. And it's been cool seeing that confidence climb in the pitch too as he's throwing it more and more and more. So no, I do think there's a lot more swing and miss potentially in there for him, and he showed that through the minor leagues at points. But I think it's also cool to see that he can turn lineups over. He can be extremely effective without striking everybody out. So what a huge just emergence this is for the Cubs, given that they didn't address the rotation the way that we thought they should have. And you like Boyd, who's been amazing this year, and Imanaga, but we were talking about like who's your third guy. Well, hopefully here he is if Horton can continue to do this. And yes, it's a lot to place on the shoulders of a young pitcher here and really a rookie, but at the same time, you were going to be hard pressed to acquire an arm that has this much upside even at the deadline to help you down the stretch. What I am interested though is to see the innings, because he didn't throw a ton in college. He was a two-way guy there. He had Tommy John surgery, and then you look at the usage in 2023. He threw 88 innings. In 2024, he was hurt and he threw 34 innings or so. And then this year, he's already at a career high, or about to be at a career high with his next start at 85. And again, he didn't throw a ton in college either. So how hard are they going to push him after dealing with injury last year? That's the other reason why I thought they should have went and got an arm.
Yeah. Let's move over to our next guy. Again, this guy has been absolutely electric.
Huh.
And I even tweeted about it. And I just tweeted something very simple. I was like, wait a minute. This is getting crazy. We need to pay more attention to this. Trevor Rogers has allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in 10 of his 11 starts. He's got a 1.43 ERA. Over his last 4 starts, he's allowed just 3 runs total, averaging 7 innings per start. We talked about him after his first, 3 or 4 solid starts, and we were like, great. The Orioles got a good arm. The Stowers and Norby deal isn't crazy. And ever since we talked about him, Arm, he's only gotten better. The fastball up in the zone is playing so well. He's getting ahead of hitters. He throws strikes. The changeup, that patented changeup is incredible. Like he could sometimes work off those 2 pitches and dominate, but it does seem like every single time he takes the ball, not only is he pitching well, he's pitching like a bona fide ace. And we can't forget, this guy was electric with the Marlins in his rookie year. This was one of the guys the Marlins were planning on building around. What happens? Injuries. And then injuries affect his play on the field. And then what does Peter Bendix do? He says, you know what? I can cash in now because I know he's got the potential. It might just not work here. I'll bring in Stowers, I'll bring in Norby, and everyone in Miami is happy. But this
Yeah.
is turning into a massive win-win because Trevor Rogers is freaking legit.
Yeah, it's been nice to see, man. 'Cause he was so fun to watch in 21, and it looks like 2021 Rogers. Now, with those injuries that you mentioned, the velo subsided a little bit, and really subsided when he hit the wall in 2024, where he missed a lot of the year in 2023 with injury. So you couldn't really see if there was anything wrong then. He didn't really know if he was struggling. Then 2024, he comes back and it's like 91, 92. There were some outings, in AAA at the end of the year with Norfolk where he was averaging below 90 miles per hour. And it was like, oh no, like what did the Orioles acquire here? But if you go back to 2021 and 2022, like this is a guy that was averaging 95 and 94, 95 on the fastball. And then from that low release and the way that he kind of works down the mound, it just gets on you. But when he was at 91, 92, there was this added importance now of executing in command. And he didn't seem to trust his stuff nearly as much. He starts nibbling. Now he's walking guys. Now the feel for some of those secondaries isn't there. And now he's like in this in between spot where he doesn't have his identity. Now the velo is back up a little bit, still not quite totally where it was when he was peaking, but it's not as low as it was when he was really struggling, averaging like 93 on the fastball. But the command is all the way back. 71% strike rate on the fastball. And if you go by the last like 10 starts, it's closer to 75%. So he's just dotting with that. Then, as you mentioned, that changeup off of it, you're thinking fastball, fastball, fastball. You cannot see it out of the hand. That fades right off of it. Then he's got the sinker, the slider, and a sweeper now that he added that he mixes in a little bit that you have to respect. I believe this is for real. Like, is he going to be an ace? I don't think so. But I think this is a solid middle rotation piece for them as long as he can stay healthy. And I'm really happy for him because he had the ability, and we've seen that in the past.
And when I watched Trevor Rogers this year, and it's good to see it again highlighted in the numbers, you love that when you're just watching TV, watching the game, and then you're like, oh, I think this. And then you look at Baseball Savant. Sometimes I've just been wrong. Like I've done that plenty of times. But this time it's been right is when you look at Trevor Rogers' profile, you see a very, very blue bubble. That's the hard hit rate, right? 48.9%. Not really ideal. But what I've been noticing, it's mostly the changeup and the sinker that's getting hit hard. Here's the thing: 5-degree launch angle on the sinker, 1-degree launch angle on the changeup. So all of those hard hit balls are just on the ground. They're getting scooped up and he's getting out of innings. So I'm not really worried about the fact that he's allowing hard contact because the two pitches that allow the hardest contact are the two pitches that induce the most ground
Yeah,
balls.
that's a good
So
point.
that hard contact isn't going in the air. So he's not getting bit on those. I'm sure Trevor Rogers, yeah, hit it 100 miles an hour right at Gunner.
Yeah.
Like hit it 105 at Jackson Holiday. We're going to turn two in case of that one walk, his one start. Like that's what he does because he doesn't walk anybody either. So even that hard contact, let's say it's a double in the gap. All right, do it again. And nobody is. So that's another reason why I'm feeling so bullish on Trevor Rogers is that the fastball is being perfectly located. The changeup, you're either whiffing or hitting it hard on the ground. And the sinker, it's the same thing. This
Yeah.
guy's got a repertoire that just straight up works.
And he added that sweeper that, I think helps him left on left that you could just sprinkle in there a little bit. And yeah, I think it's gonna work. And there's gonna be days where that hard contact sees holes a little bit more frequently. And I think that's what keeps him from like being a frontline dude. But yeah, if your biggest the hardest hit pitches that you have are ones that get hit straight into the ground, you're going to be able to hedge that pretty well. And I'm excited to see if he can continue to build it. But I tell you, the Orioles really needed this too. So
Yes, they do.
it's a nice positive trend for them.
I mean, think about how happy you are if you are an Orioles fan watching this. You see what
Oh,
Stowers is doing,
huh.
and you need pitching.
Yeah.
So it's a double whammy. You
Yeah.
get your pitcher with years of control who is still young and pitching at this level. And you could also say, all right, now the trade is looking like a win-win. Like we don't have to throw Elias. We don't have to bring pitchforks to his house. We don't have to.
Yeah.
He might have cooked with this one.
Yeah.
Another cooking session. Dear God, the Milwaukee Brewers. Andrew Vaughn. We've kind of just glossed over him. You know what we've done with Andrew Vaughn is just used him as a barometer for total Brewers play. And we haven't really talked about Andrew Vaughn, the player. In 48 games with the White Sox, he slashed 189, 219, 314. It's not what you want. You don't want a slash line that goes 1, 2, 3.
No.
And you don't want your WRC plus at 42 either. That means you are 60 or 58% lower than a league average hitter. Not ideal. And a negative 1.3 F WAR. It was as bad as it could get. Then he goes to Milwaukee in 28 games. The Brewers are like 100-0 in 28 games somehow. He's slashing 340, 404, 630 with a 185 WRC plus, 85% better than league average, with a 1.5 WAR. He's cut his strikeout rate by nearly 10%. He's tripled his walk rate. And another reason why I wanted to bring him up, regardless of he just deserves it and the Brewers are playing great baseball, and I want to talk about Andrew Vaughn. I was listening to an MLB Network segment where I think it was Brian Kenny, and he was interviewing a Brewers writer, I think for MLB.com. I apologize for forgetting the name, but I'm sure if you search up that segment on Twitter, you'd be able to find it. And basically, what they were talking about is the Brewers get a lot of credit for bringing in failed prospects and helping them unlock things, right? Most notably with Quinn Priester. They should get a lot of credit for developing Jacob Mizorowski, right? They should get a lot of credit for a lot of guys on their team. But what Andrew Vaughn was saying is if you dive deep into the film, if you dive into the data, you're not going to find many differences. All it was, at least in his mind, was a change of scenery. And that the Brewers instilled such incredible confidence in him that he's been able to unlock what we thought he could when he was drafted number 3 overall a few drafts ago. This was always a guy everybody expected to just hit, hit, hit. Very similar to Spencer Torkelson when he has now found this new stroke with the Detroit Tigers. But Vaughn has taken it to a completely other level. But when I was breaking that down for all those watching on YouTube, you saw Aram smiling. Why were you smiling?
Well, it's twofold. One, I think that is definitely a big part of it. I think a guy like Andrew Vaughn's gonna want to say like, oh, like nobody changed anything in me. Like I just needed a little bit more runway and a better situation. But the reason why I laughed was so he's played what you said 28 games, right? With
28,
the
28 games
Brewers.
and he's hitting 10,000.
Chase rate is 24.8%. His chase rate with the White Sox was about almost 10% higher. It, I don't understand. Like, did you just gain the confidence to swing less because the Brewers said you're good? Like, I feel like there had to be a conversation had
I
that
will be
was like,
perfectly honest. When they said that Andrew Vaughn is simply swinging at strikes and not swinging at balls, and I was like, that's a good recipe, I guess.
you didn't know to do that in Chicago.
It's
I-
tough. They don't teach that in Chicago. Well, they are
So
now.
so there's a couple of small things I did, but it's funny. The other reason why I laughed was I did send out a text to just some people that I know, some scouts that have seen him play recently, and also just like some feelers to some people I respect because I wanted to do a video dive. And I literally, if you read, I'll read you just the one line. Is I was expecting a bigger mechanical change, but it seems like it's similar pre-swing moves. Like it's verbatim what I said, and I didn't even know about that segment. But the one thing I did notice is he just looks like he's moving more freely.
Hmm.
Like where when I looked at the White Sox video, a little bit tense, like he's thinking about his movements a little bit too much, which he just can't do in the box. And maybe that is part of feeling free, right? Trusting that your moves work. Because maybe in Chicago, he's getting hammered in different ways where people are telling him different things, or maybe just not making him feel like he's in a good spot. And he's like, okay, well, I got to find a way to get to a good spot. Now in Milwaukee, he's just moving more fluidly and more freely. There is one mechanical thing that I think you can see, and if you look at the open side though, and he's holding his backside so much better. Like whereas before he'd load into it and then you just see him push right out. It was very heavy on the front side. Where now he's like hinged in the backside and staying there. The Brewers are really good with that, and that's something that they identify with hitters and kind of I think biomechanically help guys get to. So that could have been just a really easy small little tell where they just said, hey, like you got to find a way, a little cue to hold it a little bit more back there. He's doing that. And then that might even alone allow him to see the ball longer. Because when you're moving towards the ball and a 95-mile-an-hour ball is coming towards you, you're going to feel more rushed. You're more likely to swing. And you're more likely to swing at something out of the zone. So I think he just has more time. I think he feels more comfortable. And then I think on top of that, he must just trust that he needed that change of scenery and he's in a good spot. So he was a top 5 pick, man. Like or he was viewed by many as a can't miss bat, and it's easy to forget that. So it clearly was always in there. But yeah, it's been amazing to see.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't rate us 5 stars after what Arm just said, you don't even have to rate it for me. Rate it for that. That was bars. This is supposed to be a podcast like Jack did his tennis breakdown, and I was like, I'm supposed to respond and add more. I got nothing. That was perfect. What else am I supposed to add to that?
No, I appreciate it. But like, I would love to know why he's recognizing spin so much better though, because it's like night and day. But you might just be feeling good. It helps when everybody around you is raking too.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that's played a part. But 14% strikeout rate in that span, just to like tie a bow on things, and sorry, 16%. I cut it a little short,
Oh,
but
down to four
54%.
stars.
Yeah, he's
Down to 4 stars. 4-star review.
eight.
Sorry.
The quality of contact is nuts. 8 homers in 28 games is absolutely crazy. So he's getting it off, man. He looks like he feels free.
So to answer another clearly smart Twitter debate, are the Brewers just cheating now? Is this what's happening? Because when a team like this gets good and they don't spend $300 million on their players, that means they're cheating.
They're cheating. They are brilliant, man. They really are. I
Brilliant.
think the standard for how you should run an organization, whether you have a big payroll or you don't. Like this is how you create assets, and they just created one.
I also want to shout out another podcast episode. You had an interview with the Brewers hitting coach. And
Yeah, our assistant director of player development, but he was before that like the one of the hitting directors in the organization.
if you're curious on how the Brewers think and operate, you
Oh,
have to go listen to that episode. I've listened to it once and I plan on listening to it again just because there are so many good nuggets I know I missed. Like he was spitting
oh
the
my
entire
gosh.
time. Your questions were fantastic, diving deep into how the Brewers have done all of this. What episode number is that of the call up? Do you remember? Because people will link it in the episode description. Like that needs to be your next listen after you listen to the show.
I can pull it up, but the thing, and I'll mention the one thing that really stood out to me with that episode is they have plans in place, and this is from top to bottom, like especially with the minor leaguers. They have like a plan in place for when their prospect or player inevitably hits adversity, and that's usually more on the minor league side, right? Like guy with iffy swing mechanics hits is mashing in high A. They don't want to make that change then because they're going to be less likely to implement those changes with confidence because they're going to say, why am I going to make a change? I'm crushing.
Yeah.
But the second they hit adversity, instead of then going to the drawing board and being like, okay, how do we fix this? They literally imagine you're in a slump and you go to your hitting coach or whoever and say, yeah, I'm just not feeling right. And they're like, we know exactly what you need to do. Um, and it's already prepared for you. Like that was something that really stood out to me. But it's episode 400, easy to remember. And it was a lot of fun. But just hearing how they work through things philosophically, how it goes from top to bottom of the organization, how they have plans in place for each player from Jesus Mate all the way up to a Christian Yelich off of back surgery. It was really cool, and made it very easy to understand why the Brewers are the Brewers right now.
I'm telling you, episode 400 of the call up, a must listen. Now we're going to get to our next player, but before I say the name of this player, I want everyone to close their eyes. Even you, Arm. Close your eyes right now. Everybody listening, close your eyes unless you're driving. Don't close your eyes. There's a 25-year-old shortstop out there that is second in F4 among all shortstops, and he has the eighth highest F4 in all of baseball. He's an above average defender at shortstop with an above average arm. He only strikes out 10% of the time, and he walks more than he strikes out, 13% walk rate. He has the 11th highest walk rate in baseball, ninth lowest strikeout rate in baseball. 13 home runs, 19 stolen bases, hitting close to 300. And another reminder, he is a 25-year-old. You would think I'm talking about an absolute superstar. And he's playing like one. And his name is Geraldo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Can we focus on this man? I tweeted out, this is the most underrated player in baseball. The problem is that the Diamondbacks have not had a great season. They've sold off. There's not a lot of reasons to watch the Arizona Diamondbacks because they're not competing for a playoff spot. When you think Diamondbacks, you think Ketel Marte, who has the third highest OPS in all of baseball. You think of Corbin Carroll, who continues to hit for tons of power. And you know who you forget about? Geraldo Perdomo, the eighth best overall player in baseball by FWAR, a 25-year-old shortstop who is on an absolute steal of a contract. Now you can open your eyes.
Okay, I was waiting. Yeah, I was visualizing a Hall of Famer. But seriously, like it
Seriously,
it is okay. So we talk about times where I was right. I did not like Geraldo Perdomo as a prospect.
3 stars. We're down. We're
Back down
crashing.
2 stars. Like
Two
I did
stars.
not like him at all. Like I was just like, oh great, like slap hitting switch hitter who's super aggressive. He was at points in the minor leagues. Like okay, it's a fine, second division regular up the middle, like maybe a bench player, whatever it may be. The shift in swing decisions is crazy.
Crazy.
The improvement in bat to ball, 92% in zone contact rate with an 18% chase rate is outrageous. But then usually, okay, you're a guy that makes a ton of contact. A lot of times those are going to be guys that have those flatter swings. It's a 38% ground ball rate. So now he's able to slug a little bit too. You mentioned the defense, all the other little things. I mean, this guy is incredible. And 837 OPS from the left side, 815 OPS from the right side. You can't really find an issue with this game. The one where you could have said, oh, well, I wish he hit for more power because the EVs aren't good. It's a 31% hard hit rate. Well, he is now. He's outslugging his exit velocities, 13 homers. 14 more walks than strikeouts is crazy. And as you mentioned, he can pick it. I think this kid is as good as they come really at shortstop position. Besides the superstars that we're talking about, and he's only going to get better. He's 25, like you said. That contract is going to age really really well. And I want to pull up the exact numbers on it. Was what 4 years, 45 million.
That's
So
the
they bought
contract
out.
Steven. That's the contract that Cardinal signed Steven Matz to.
Yeah, legit. They bought out 2 years of ARB and they got 3 years of control. So in 2028, where he would have hit free agency, 12.25 million. 2029, 14 million. 14.25 million, and then a club option for 2030 that you can roundhouse me in the face upon sight if the Diamondbacks don't pick that up for 15 million in 2030.
I like Roundhouse on site. I could just
You can get
imagine
your leg up
they
there,
don't.
man. Knock
I,
me out. That's
I could
fine.
just
And
imagine.
Perdomo, like the thing is, Perdomo, maybe they don't pick it up because he falls off a cliff. If you can get, what are the odds that somebody can roundhouse me? That's a high kick.
Can you imagine though? Like, let's say next year, for example, or let's say 2 years or whatever, when that contract comes to be, we're at like Marlins Day at Lone Depot Park, like we will be on August 23rd. We just do that in 2 years again, and someone comes up to you, be like, "Arm, stand still." Here comes the roundhouse, and someone just straight up
Well,
UFC kicks you in the face.
I'll tell you what. If Perdomo's the second Perdomo's in 2030, if the second Perdomo's club option doesn't get picked up for whatever reason, I'm going into hiding at that point. But
Going into hiding.
yeah,
That's real good. All right, you ready to move on to our next guy?
yeah, this guy's nuts.
So this one, I can say his name. His name is Jakob Lopez. Has he allowed a run over his last 4 starts? That would make
No,
sense that he would have allowed 1 run, right?
nope.
Nope. 24 innings, zero, count them, zero earned runs. Same as you and me from our couch. 0.83 whip, 28 strikeouts to 6 walks. He's got a 3.30 ERA over 84 innings this year with excellent underlying peripherals, right? When we look at FIP, XFIP, expected ERA, Sierra, we're looking for specific numbers to project future success. All of these look excellent. The strikeout rate, incredible. 10.95 strikeouts per nine, which would be sixth in all of baseball among starters if he had enough innings to qualify. This is that low release lefty throwing it wherever he wants. And you were talking about Mason Miller on that show with Jack, right? That this is a launching pad. That for a guy with and Jakob Lopez who likes to locate at the top of the zone could get really bit by the home run ball. Not only is he not, and he's doing it at a launch pad, the strikeouts are there.
Mm-hmm.
This is a diamond in the rough for the A's.
Yep. No one was paying attention to him in the Jeffrey Springs Joe Boyle trade.
Yep.
Like I will continue to emphasize this. And not a lot of guys can do it, but the ones that can, it's clockwork. They're nasty. The guys that crossfire deliver with good extension, and by that I mean like your landing spot is kind of closed off to where the back of your jersey is almost facing the home plate, and then you can keel back over and throw strikes. It's really hard to do. But that crossfire delivery, like Sean Manaea, and that I mean that earned him another $50+ million, maybe more than that, and extended his career. It just seems like hitters cannot pick it up. I even see it in the minor leagues. Guys always outperform their stuff when they have this crossfire delivery. Jakob Lopez is also extending 7 feet down the mound.
Seven
Average in
feet
the big
two.
leagues is like 6'4". So he's
Yuri's at 7.
yeah,
Like this is 95th percentile of extension, 96th percentile in hard hit rate. Like
like, and then
with
you're
that
spotting
strikeout
it.
rate.
This is a building block, man. I'm buying it. Like, and again, it's kind of the Rogers conversation. Is he going to be a frontline guy? No, but I think you're already seeing he's so unique that hitters are struggling to figure out how to get comfortable against it and accommodate for the crossfire. That slider from that horizontal release is ridiculous. And then the ability to spot, like you said, and keep the ball in the yard in a place where nobody keeps it in the yard has just been really, really, really impressive. Aside from the one outing where he walked four, and again, even then, he still went four and a third in Houston scoreless. He has really filled up the zone too. So last two outings, 14 and 2/3 innings, no earned runs, no walks, 19 strikeouts. And he's doing that at 90 miles an hour, man. It's
Yep.
90, 91. But it probably feels like 93, 94 with the extension. And then it looks a lot tougher to pick up with the crossfire. And he's kind of found this perfect blend of weird and control. And it's going to work.
I mean, think about it. Again, this is another close your eyes type of conversation here. Like if I told you there's a 6'4", 220-pound left-hander who has thrown 84 innings this year and would be sixth in strikeouts per nine, who is in the 96th percentile in hard hit rate, also doesn't walk anybody, 93rd percentile of average exit velocity, with a 3.30 ERA at 27 years old, you would say that's a budding star. But nobody's talking about him like he's a budding star. And that's kind of the point
Yeah.
of this exercise, is to tell you about the guys that are pitching like aces
Mm-hmm.
that in kind of the dog days of summer are just getting left, where we'll post a graphic about them, people will comment and stuff, but they're not being talked about across the nation. And they should. Like this kid, Jakob Lopez, is a real arm for the A's. And right now, if you're an A's fan, you have your ace on the mound when Jakob Lopez is on the mound, even though you just signed Sevy to this deal, even though you just traded for Jeffrey Springs. This is your guy.
Yeah. I mean, and you got to feel good about that because you just need to fill out that rotation. And they've got some guys on the way. But also, I think if you're Jamie Arnold and some of the other, Gage Jump, to see a left-hander having success at the big league level, you got to feel good about that as an org.
So next guy up is an example of not a mechanical switch, nothing of that sort. It's just about, can he see the baseball? On April 30th, Max Muncy started wearing prescription lensed glasses to address a potential issue with left eye dominance caused by an astigmatism.
Stigmatism?
Astigmatism.
Yeah.
That's how you say it. In his right eye. Since April 30th, he has a 185 WRC plus. Yep. The highest in Major League Baseball in that span, even higher than Aaron Judge at 183. Since April 30th, put on glasses. He's slashing 295, 430, 611 with 17 home runs in 61 games. You ask me, the Dodgers still have pretty good numbers offensively, even though they've been through this slide. It helps that Shohei Ohtani is freaking magical and he's a unicorn, but it also helps that Max Muncy, since April 30th, is the best overall hitter in baseball. And that's not hyperbole. It's reflected in the WRC plus, 85% better than league average. We were just talking about Andrew Vaughn, how he hits everything. He's hitting 340. It's the same number in 28 games, and everyone's freaking out. Max Muncy has been doing this. And all it took, at least what it seems, I just need to be able to see the baseball. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's that simple.
eyesight helps. It's crazy that he's not striking out like at all, like compared to
At
what
all.
we've seen. Like that's the part that really stands out to me. Also, I thought I literally thought he had like a career-ending injury. I was mortified in that game where Kershaw was about to
Yep.
get to
On
3K.
on the field, it looked like his knee blew out.
I thought it was like he tore everything,
Yeah.
and so like thank goodness he didn't. But I'm like 35 years old. I thought everything was destroyed there. So he comes back within a month from that and just picks up right where he left off. Like he had a 4-hit 2-homer game, like second game back. It's like holy crap. So seeing that and just seeing him now improve in the bat to ball department, like Jack was hating on his game. Uh, Jack can't say anything negative about this version of Max Muncy.
Another top 100 guy that Jack's trying to fricking kick me out of the podcast for.
No, this one was a good one. This one, the fact that the contact rates have improved like that, and that he's still getting it off and slugging the way that he is, and again, he's not a spring chicken. He's 35. Like he's playing some of the best ball that we've seen. It's been really cool, and they're gonna need him. So that's a big part of I think what can jolt this lineup in LA.
I'm starting to realize Jack might have a hatred inside him for husky white guys who rake. Anti Kyle Schwarber and now anti Max Muncy.
Is he anti Schwarber?
He was anti Schwarber when I was talking about him on the
Oh, that's
top
true.
100. Both of you guys were aligned. Now you weren't aligned on the Muncy take. I think we
No.
both had Muncy pretty high. So you just were not a huge Schwarber guy in the top 100. But now there's a pattern. So basically, Max Muncy put on his glasses and became the best hitter in baseball from April 30th. Again, not much of a mechanical change. Just literally, he is able to see the ball better, and he is pillaging. He's going to be huge for the Dodgers if they want to win this division. Let's move over to our last, but certainly not least. He's been the best hitter ever through 13 games. Jakob Marsee, an OPS over 1,400 through his first 13 games with a 1.5 FWAR. That is the best in Marlins franchise history by nearly 400 points of OPS. Luis Arias, remember we got a lot of flack about that trade, and by
Yep.
we I mean Fish Fam, and I would consider both of us now members of Fish Fam for that trade where you sent off Luis Arias. Since the start of 2024, correct, I had to go that far back because he's only at a 0.6 this year with the Padres. Luis Arias has a 1.7 FWAR again since the start of 2024. Marsee is at 1.5 in 13 games.
Yeah.
13 games on him.
Yeah. 6 bags. 3 homers, 6 bags, 9 walks, 9 Ks. He's hitting 436. Like I didn't expect this at all. And also, Marcy was like shockingly not very good last year. And I say shockingly because I really liked getting him in that trade. And definitely got some flack for that. And the Marlins Twitter sphere for those that were just upset to see Arias go, which I understand. But Marcy, man, like when I saw him in the Arizona Fall League where he won MVP out there, the way that he can impact the game just really stood out to me. Whether it was covering a lot of ground and making a big grab in center, whether it was grinding out at bats because he's always been a very low chase guy, whether it be tapping into a little bit more impact than you would expect, and he's added more and more. I think as he's matured here and gotten closer to the big leagues, but the bat to ball has always been above average. That he's always air pulled exceptionally well, which is something that now is very popular to identify in hitters now. And then he brings the speed and defense component. But I think people were a little bit concerned, especially like in 2023, it was like a 27% hard hit rate. Well, now he's getting into it a little bit more. It's a 34% hard hit rate. He's still doing the elevate thing. He's still chasing at an extremely low clip. It just is he's like the best version of himself. For whatever reason, he needed an adjustment period in 2022 to get there, but I think this is for real. I don't think he's Barry Bonds, but I think this is an above average big league center fielder for you. And it's just another success story, I think, here with the players that Peter Bendix has acquired. And I think there's going to be points where you may shelter him from lefties a little bit and stuff like that. But this is a guy that could, if he's playing a great center field or a good center field, he's stealing a ton of bags. He's running into 15 or so homers and he's walking at a really high clip. It's a really good player.
Look at PDB. Peter Bendix. When's the last time you had this much confidence in a GM to find those diamonds in a rough? We already talked about Kyle Stowers. Like
Never.
this is almost constant now, and they're on offense, Aram. They are on offense. They swing a bat. Can you believe it?
Yeah. I mean, I've not, like, we never saw guys come up and do that. And then even Graham Pauley, like Graham
Yeah.
Pauley,
Look at the defense with Paulie.
yeah, like even if he's a solid utility player, he's kind of a throw in. And then the Tanner Scott trade, he's at a full war, 1F war already now. 97 WRC plus with superb defense.
Better than
Um,
Luis Ariz. I
so
mean,
it's crazy. I feel bad. Arise is like just minding his own business, just hitting, and he just catches strays like crazy.
I know. It's from nerds like us who are just looking
Yes,
at his F4, even though he's, I think, fifth in Major League Baseball in hits.
it's crazy, but it's been fun to watch, man. And Marcy, it's like this Brett Gardner type of like coded swing that's fun to
Yeah.
watch, and
I love that.
it's fun. I think it's exactly what the Marlins needed, and all of a sudden you got a Stowers, Marcy, maybe Conine, outfield Alberto Hernandez as well. Like that platoon could be potentially electric. They've got a nice little outfield out there with control.
We're building here in Miami. So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Hopefully everybody enjoys your weekend. I do have to ask though, we haven't done the last word in a little bit. Is anything pissing you off? Something
Nothing
has to
pissing me
be.
off. I actually have good. I just saw Weapons. That was good.
It was good.
I saw Clips in concert. That was awesome. That was really really fun for me. And JID dropped an album, and I loved it. So I'm happy right now, to be honest. Music's in a good spot.
That stinks though, because
I
when you're
know.
unhappy, that's the best content. So you
I
like
know.
enjoying your life is pretty boring for the rest of
Just
us.
give it a few more days. Something will happen.
Something will happen. So hopefully something doesn't happen to our listeners and they have a great weekend. And again, the best way to support, rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, 5 stars or wherever you listen to your shows, as well as liking, subscribing, and commenting on YouTube. If you want to go get yourself some Just Baseball merch, I'm rocking the hat and the Just Baseball Yankees t-shirt. Arms rocking the polo. Go get yourself some Just Baseball merch in the episode description. As well, if you want to join the best baseball group chat in the world, it's just $10 a month, $5 for a week if you just want to try it. Both are less than a price of a sandwich. It has been such a blast talking baseball with everybody in the Discord. And if you're ever missing the show, just pop in even for a week. Just hang out with us over a weekend or again, a week, whatever you want to do. It's been so much fun. Thank you to everybody for listening. For Arm Layton, I'm Peter Apple. We'll see you on Monday. And with that, thank you, everybody.